What is up, wrestling fans? It's that time of the week for the FLZ Wrestling Team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of 607 TWS, the wrestling show, powered by FanlightZone.com. Of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. Joining me in the co-pilot's chair as she does each and every week, you know her as the hunter of the Pokemon because she's got to catch them all. She is also the guru of cosplay, but most importantly for this show, she is a pro grappling connoisseur. It is the first lady of Fanlight Zone, Miss Sammy. How are you today?
You know, it was a sad week this week in WWE, but it was a really good week in AEW. So, things are okay. How about you, Rich? You ready?
I'm always ready. I was born ready, and I don't know how sad it was. There's a couple good news too. Who knows? Wrestling across the board. But we have one more person joining us, of course, again this week. You know him as the host of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast, better known as the ODPH. You also know him as the editor-in-chief and CEO of FanlightZone.com. He is the one and only Ken Moneybags. That's right, Ken Moneybags making a return.
What can I say? When the wrestling talk is this good, I have to swing through. And definitely we want to see you in the chat. So wherever you're watching, you want to make sure you're following that simple homework assignment about visiting fanlightzone.com, following on every single social media platform, and most importantly, subscribing to the YouTube channel because you're going to get exclusive content here. But more importantly, we want to interact with you and talk all things pro wrestling. So get in the chat. Let's hear your takes and let's do this.
As much as we have all of the wonderful pro wrestling fans, we always want to hear from you, of course. But to the comic book fans that are peeking in, because that does happen from time to time. If you really want to know a secret, Ken shows up after we do interviews. So more interviews are coming to Fanlight Zone on YouTube. Subscribe. There you go.
Yeah.
He didn't hear what I just said, just so you know.
Hear what?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But make sure you head on over to fanlightzone.com where you can check out all that great comic book coverage, awesome reviews, another great week of new comic books. And of course, this is an amazing week. This is like the Christmas of comic books because this upcoming Saturday, May 2nd, is free comic book day or comics giveaway day, depending upon what you want to call it. But either way, it's going down at your local comic book shop. So make sure you're getting out for that. It is like Christmas. And I can share with you guys tomorrow morning, dropping on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel will be our free comic book day preview show. So you can find out from myself and Ken what's going down in the shops right here on YouTube. So look at it. We're putting it all over the place. Also keep your eyes on fanlightzone.com for all that great action and much, much more. But we got a lot to talk about. Finally, we're not really talking about WrestleMania. I mean, we're talking about the hangover from WrestleMania, but finally we're not talking about WrestleMania. But you know what happens right after WrestleMania every year?
You just make the list. I'm sorry.
Well, there is a list. There's always a list that happens right after WrestleMania every year. You can call it a spring cleaning list. You can call it a future endeavors list, however you want to look at it. But it's always one of those things that is so polarizing, and I understand it. So, yes, WWE did their yearly. At this point, juncture, it is usually just yearly. You don't see too many. Sometimes they release people during the year, but they only usually do the one big yearly in the spring clean, if you will, the post WrestleMania. And we got our yearly 2026 one. So right up front, I know I'm kind of making some, because you always have to. First and foremost, I want to say, before we even talk about any of this, it goes without saying, but for those people in the back of the room, we are never happy here at Fanlight Zone, but if anybody loses their job, it sucks.
Yeah, it absolutely
we
does.
Understand this. Yep. It does suck. We are not celebrating that anybody lost. And despite what we're going to talk about when we do talk about some of the individuals who lost their jobs here, we're going to be doing this right down the middle, talking about things that happen. It's not that we're taking great pleasure or anything in it, even if it's somebody we don't like. I don't think anybody on this list really fits that because, unfortunately, the Monstar is still pleasantly employed. Because I know that you would be singing from the rooftops if that happened, right? Anyways, oh, come on. Ken did the Lord's work when he was covering LFG for a while.
This is true.
Said that was somewhere else many miles away.
Yes.
Anyways, back to that was back when people still read articles there. But anyways, going back to what I'm saying is that we are very happy that some of these fine folks will get to ply their trade somewhere, though.
Yes.
And I stand on this all the time, and I'm going to stand on business as I always do. I'm always of two minds when the WWE releases come by, because most of the people on the release list were not being utilized to the best of their potential. That happens every single time. And my thing of mind, my of two minds is, if you're not going to be utilized to the best of your potential somewhere, you should be allowed to go and ply your trade elsewhere. I get it. Releasing people from their contracts is dirty, especially when you call it a business and people are in the, the company's making money hand over fist, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just a part of business. My bigger reasoning for people not staying there would be, now you get to go out and make some real money. We found out from Matt Cardona, he made way more money in the indies than he ever did in his WWE run. I don't know about now that he's back, but that was his statement. And he showed the way. Guys like Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, even a Jinder Mahal had left. And I understand everybody will joke about can't hinder Jinder. Mm-hmm. But at the same point in juncture, he did come back and have a hell of a run, right? Am I wrong?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there is ways to come back. There is ways to make money. There's other places like All Elite Wrestling and Total Nonstop Action and New Japan and CMLL and all sorts of indies that are doing big work like Game Changer Wrestling and such, where people could actually make money and ply their trade and actually do what they love. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, not everybody I'm on the list, because some of them were NIL people who came into WWE. We know this. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the people on the list are people who love professional wrestling their whole lives and have been doing it, whether it was on the indies or WWE or AEW or wherever, before coming to WWE. So if you're not being utilized and you're not doing what you love to do, I would assume you would like to go back to doing that.
Yes.
Just speaking from personal experience. So I'm always of two minds. Do I like seeing people lose their jobs? Absolutely not. Do I like the fact that people get cut from them? No. But at the same time, I'm also like, this is an opportunity. So somebody can go out there and do things. And I understand, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Before we even dive in, what say you guys about the facts of releases to begin with, starting with you, Sammy?
It's just a fact of business. WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan, any one of them, they're a business. And this happens within every industry. And it happens in manufacturing, it happens in the auto industry, it happens in pharmaceutical, it happens everywhere. And it's unfortunate. It stinks. We want to see everyone working hard and getting the opportunity. But WWE isn't the only place to get an opportunity. And people still have that mindset because it kind of was for a long period of time. It was kind of really the only place, but it's not anymore. And it hasn't been for easily solid like the last 10 years now, because the indies finally got up and running and really rolling again after many, many down years. And now you have AEW, TNA is back out the TV deal. New Japan is still running strong, and various other indies have reached the point where they are at like super indie status. So there's plenty of opportunities for anyone to go out there and perform and work their craft. And doing it under WWE isn't always the best thing for everyone. Sometimes it's, it can be a very solid place for people to work, but it can also be very limiting for others. So I there's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly in all this, but at the end of the day, I don't think anyone on this list is just going to disappear from wrestling and woe is me, I'm never going to wrestle again. You're going to see these guys pop up all, a 90-day compete. So sometime in July afterwards, you're going to see these guys popping up everywhere, which will be awesome.
Yeah, if you were on the main roster, it's 90 days. If you were on the NXT or developmental deal, it's 30 days.
Right. Yep. And some of these aren't necessarily releases. Some of them could just be contracts ending in a certain time period and such like that. Like, it's not just like, hey, you're in the middle of your contract releasing you. There are some other factors that come into play here as well. Like, hey, your contract's up in 2 months. We're not going to re-sign you. Do you want to go now? I'm sure those type of conversations come into play as well.
Yep. Ken, what's your takes?
Well, it's always horrible when somebody loses their job, but we've seen now through Cody Rhodes, Matt Cardona, the blueprint is there to go away from WWE, tear it up on the indies, reinvent yourself, become more profitable, and market yourself that when you get re-signed, you'll get more money. So it's there. It just depends on how bad somebody wants it and what are they willing to work for. Because like I say, the blueprint is there. Just are they ready to do it? And it's the true test when they get that opportunity. So, like I say, one door closes, but another one is definitely open.
All right, so I want to break this into different groups, so that way we can try to talk about them in like an overall. After I list them and say, obviously some people are going to get more press than others. We're going to start with the developmental releases. So these were young folks who you might have seen on LFG. Some of them you might have also seen on Evolve, and maybe a couple NXT spots.
Mhm.
So on that list is Trill London, Tyson DuPont, and Tyreke Gui, Chris Island, Serena Linton, Tyra May Steele.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, most of them were on LFG. My reasoning for not feeling, and I shouldn't say bad, but my reasoning for thinking, okay, you got to do what you got to do is you put most of these fun fights on LFG a couple times to get them high exposure, and they just didn't work. And like the most disappointing one on there is Tyra May Steele, who has all of the markings that could be, the female Kurt Angle, if she could just get past herself. And I'm saying that in the nicest way possible. I think at times she takes herself too serious, and sometimes like she also carries herself in an area where you have to act like you're in your role, not that you should be ahead of where you are. Maybe if she really loves pro wrestling and she goes onto the indie circuit, she'll learn a thing or two and learn what it's like to actually. And I think goes across for all of the NAL athletes. If they really got the wrestling bug and they go on the indies, they're going to find out what the grind was really about. I think that's a bad part about skipping the indies is you don't realize what it is until you're there. That's just my personal take on it. Ken, you have any thoughts on the developmental, as you have ties to a lot of them through LFG? And such?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by a few of them, but it also goes to show the business is moving fast, and either you really take advantage of the opportunities that you have, like with LFG, you have to really get yourself over with the crowd, and especially that is in front of a very mainstream audience. And we've seen this work in the benefits of once Shiloh Hill is prime example of somebody that debuted on there, reinvented his character, and is now a star in NXT. Can't be denied. And even like you alluded to with Jasper Troy, somebody that came on there and is still in my opinion still finding his way in NXT, but he's also taken advantage of that opportunity to really kind of continue his development there. So that's going to be the question for the releases that happen from the show. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to adapt to it, because this is really going to show now there's no cameras following you. It's you wanting to be a pro wrestler. How bad do you want it?
Miss Sammy.
WWE has a way, they have a system, they have a complete design of how they like to promote their product, right? All the way down from LFG all the way up to the main event of WrestleMania. They have a format and they like to follow it. And that doesn't fit for everyone, especially when you're someone young and raw, like a lot of this talent, which doesn't mean that you can't be successful in that WWE system right from the get-go. There are plenty of people that have made it all the way up to the main roster from where these individuals are at now, following this path. But the history of wrestling overall shows that if you go out on the indies and you go work with others and you go work in different places and you really grind, you also stand a really good chance of making it to all the way to the main event of WrestleMania. So there's a lot of paths you can take. And now in the age of strong internet and strong independent wrestling, you can make a lot of money and you can really make a name for yourself. Danhausen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with everything you said there. Also, I think there's something to be called about paying your dues. If you skip level, which a lot of these young talents did, and I'm not saying there's anything against it. If you can be successful, Jasper Troy, Shiloh Hill, to come to mind, and we've had other. If you can skip level, obviously like a Tiffany Stratton, skip some levels, et cetera, you can be successful in it. However, I feel like you appreciate it more when you go wrestle at the VFW hall, when you go wrestle in front of 50 fans, and you have to and you learn a thing or two. That's I think we've now in the wrestling business, and call me old school if you want. I'm not on my soapbox like some other folks, Jim Cornette included, where you feel like you have to always pay your dues, because like I just said, Tiffany Stratton perfectly fine shows that you can be successful by skip level.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I feel like for some of them who might have not been getting it, the stark reality of, if I love this thing, I have to go out there and I have to do it here, is a great way to pay your dues and make you want it. Because I'll tell you right now, and I'm sure that, and I'm just using this as an example, somebody like a CM Punk who just main evented WrestleMania, but very much came from that indie world, will tell you the reason you want it so much is because of where you came from. He remembers wrestling in literally a barn that is no longer there for IWA Mid-South. Says all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Says all you need to know. And that is something that if you learn to love it on that level, you will never take it for granted again. And I think sometimes when some people, and I'm not saying this in particular about anybody on the list, when you skip level, you don't actually appreciate it. I think like we all have in life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like all of us have had a moment in life
absolutely.
where we maybe were excelled to somewhere where we shouldn't have been. And then, it kind of bites you in the ass and you go, oh, wait a minute, I have to really love this or earn this. Speaking of people, let's go to NXT. Actually, this time is the lowest amount of NXT cuts. Like actual NXT cuts. And I'm stretching here because a couple of the people I'm going to list haven't really been on TV much, but they've been on TV enough there that I feel like they should be. You know what I mean? There's only one big one, Ken, we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
Of course, so Dante Chen, Malik Blade, Luca Crucifini, and Andre Chase. Sorry, Ken. Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, I am deeply upset about Chase U, the greatest faction ever in NXT. Chase U kind of lost its way when they had the whole storyline about losing the school, and they never regained steam when they came back. So it really didn't surprise me about Andre Chase, even though I was very, very entertaining. And to touch upon what you were saying about the lowest amount, well, we're seeing a lot more getting called up to the main roster more often. That. So I think that's why the list is so low. But it also goes to show about maybe WWE is being a little more patient with Shawn Michaels running the ship down there, about, letting time and development happen for some of these stars. Not saying, hopefully the roster continues to grow and everybody's developing, but if they want to give some more time to see how certain individuals are doing.
Yep. Sammy.
I look at the NXT cuts and I also look at the LFG, the lower end cuts, and go, if in a thinned NXT with the call-ups, because especially in the men's side of NXT is pretty thin right now, and even the women's side, there are people down there that don't really need to be down there anymore. They are main roster ready, but it's very telling that WWE did not view them as someone that they felt would be someone they wanted to work with going forward. And that's not a knock on any of these guys, because not everyone works out everywhere, and that means you go somewhere else and you hone your craft, and then if you want to go back and the opportunity's there, you go back, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. Plenty of people have left WWE and gone back, and then left again and gone back. It happens all the time. So with the way the roster is at the lower end of WWE right now, it was a little shocking to see this many, but like you said, some of them were people that hadn't been on TV in a long time. They'd been away from it, so kind of makes sense in a way.
Speaking of TV, we have some that were on TV, because now we're going to go to the main roster cuts. We had quite a few of them. First and foremost, we'll talk about the Wyatt Six as a whole were cut. So Joe Gacy, Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, and Bo Dallas / Uncle Howdy. Also Apollo Crews, Elba Fire, Zoe Stark, the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, Santos Escobar, Zelina Vega, Kairi Sane, and Aleister Black were all released this past week. Let's start unpacking some things. The most surprising one I would have to say, because they were on TV every week, was the Wyatt Six as a whole. And I'm not saying like, oh, I was over the, because obviously, there were some problems with the storytelling and everything, but they were still on TV, like right up until the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I was not as shocked about that, to be honest with you. Like, for them, I think a lot of their steam, unfortunately, when Uncle Howdy got injured, went away, and I think they just never recouped. And I think that just hurt them, especially when you have so many talented individuals ready to come up from NXT. I think that's what really hurt them. The one that threw me off completely was Kairi Sane, and that because especially she was featured in a storyline between Io Sky and Asuka, and like how they were building that up was centered around her, to be honest. So that one was the one that really threw me off.
Although reports are saying it's because she wanted to go back to Japan.
Right.
So there's a possibility that it was one of those, mutual. Not releasing, but mutual releases, if you will.
Yeah.
I know Io Sky was very heartbroken over it, but I don't know. Column A, column B.
Yep.
obviously, you know, I'm going to say this before I pass it to Sammy for a second. Apollo Crews should have listened to JTG. Don't answer the phone, brother. JTG showed everybody the way years ago. By the way, if you're new and you don't know about the JTG syndrome, JTG lasted a lot of cuts. And when asked why, he very famously said, because during cut season, I wouldn't answer my phone. I saw a Connecticut number. I don't care if I knew it or not. I ain't answer the phone. And it seemed to work. And then the reason he got cut is finally he answered his phone.
Yeah.
It's a true story. And now it's a little different with the TKO group because the number could come from anywhere. But I think it's funny that, once again, Apollo Crews should just listen to JTG. Didn't answer the phone. He would have made it through another cut, but he answered the phone.
But you know what? I think he's going to be the one to break out on the indies and go absolutely reinvent himself.
We're gonna talk about that in a second. Surprises for you, Miss Sammy, before we break down where some of these people might land.
Really, the Kairi Sane one would be the biggest surprise. Motor City Machine Guns was a little bit of a surprise just because of, you know, they haven't really been there that long. But, you know, they brought him in, they won the titles, then they took the titles off of them, and then they haven't really done much of them since because WWE has no commitment to tag team wrestling. So in that sense, I'm kind of happy for them because they'll probably that's out of everyone that's cut, you know, I think they are the shoe-in to end up in AEW and have a ball going, you know, with all those other tag teams there. So that'll be kind of cool. But beyond that, it would really be Kairi Sane. That would be the one that's like, wow. But if it's true, the reports are true that she wanted to go back to Japan and maybe her contract was coming up and she said, listen, I'm not going to resign. I want to go home. And they just said, all right, well, we're willing to do that now. You know, maybe that's all possible. And if that's the case, that's one of those scenarios where it's like, you know what, good for you for, you know, just saying what you wanted to say and being honest about it. And the company, you know, being honest about it as well.
Selfishly, the one that made me angry, the most angry was Santos Escobar. And selfishly, I will share. Santos Escobar was supposed to be at New York Comic Con last year with our good friend Michael Kingston.
Oh, this is true.
Yes. It was booked in the whole nine, and then they pulled him because he re-signed to a fat deal. Okay, to a very lucrative deal. Okay, and so the bad part is we didn't get to hang out with Santos Escobar, which was so. That's my selfish reason for being upset about Santos Escobar. I understand. I also think he's a great talent. I think he's going to do well. I heard that CMLL is already courting him to come back, so that's cool. I wasn't as surprised about Zelina Vega and Aleister Black, and then my thing now is, and there's no shade because I don't know them. You know, like I don't personally know them. But like, it's weird now that like Aleister Black, he left WWE, cut once before, went to AEW, just didn't work out.
Yeah.
For a litany of reasons, you know, probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, right?
Yep.
Comes back to WWE, doesn't work out. Basically gives them Karrion Kross's gimmick. Yeah. When they could have just kept Cross, right? And and now he's gone from WWE again. And like, I know that some people very high up in AEW on that roster, including former world champion MJF, said he gave him the basically Seth Rollins to CM Punk before, you know, CM Punk ultimately came back. We don't need you here. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. So when you hear those reports, you can't help but be like, is he the problem or is it something else, Sammy?
It's very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see where they end up, because I would assume at this point they're pretty locked in to be a pair. So it'll be interesting to see where they go, because you're right. I don't think AEW is an option. And even if it was, even if they were able to mend fences, you've been there, you've done that, and it didn't really go well. Is it really going to work out this time? I mean, you could say it is with why does the name escape me?
What, with Brody and
no? Oh shoot, this is bad for.
Andrade?
Sorry, everyone. Andrade, thank you.
Andrade,
working out with Andrade, but is it really going to work out for Malachi Black? I don't know.
Who knows? Speaking of which, let's kind of go over. You know, we can talk some of the things. I'm with you. I think the Motor City Machine Guns most likely should land in AEW. Their tag team division seems to be going up. And I think that'll be good. But either way, they're the Motor City Machine Guns. I think that the cool part about their WWE run, they got that championship run. It solidifies them as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. I think that even if they decide to ride into the sunset in the not too distant future, their career speaks for itself. It speaks volumes for itself. You can always end up back in TNA with them as well, because that's, you know, let's be honest, that's their home. But I wouldn't be surprised to not see them in AEW for one final run because, like I said, tag team wrestling is really taking off over there, in my opinion. Santos Escobar, I think, is really a lock for CMLL, which is also kind of adjacent to AEW because they have that deal with AEW. So I'm assuming we'll see some Santos Escobar over there. The Y6 as a whole is kind of interesting because I don't think that they're all going to be together. They might do some shows together as a collective. But I mean, Nikki Cross also has her PhD or doctorate degree. So I'm sure she might go try to apply that, which was kind of her plan anyways. Eric Rowan, the last time he wasn't in the company, wasn't really doing any indie dates. We've really never seen Bo Dallas not in WWE.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see where he lands. Dexter Loomis did come up through, the indies. So possibility. And of course, Joe Gacy is a huge indie player, which I'm expecting to see him back in our hometown for Excite Wrestling, which of course, when that's announced, I'll be going to visit my good friend. So, it always sucks to see him lose his job. It's always good to have him come back home, if you will. I'll be interested to see Alba Fire, I'm assuming, will return to Europe and also probably wrestle indies in the States.
Yeah.
She would also not be a bad signing for AEW.
Agreed.
In my opinion, their women's division has been really killing it. And I think that she's a very good wrestler. And I think she would fit that mold perfectly. Zoe Stark, on the other hand, no shade against her, but I think she's another one that has to kind of I think she has the wrestling bug. I think she has it in her, but I think she needs to go out there and kind of get her wings, if you will. I think she's one that could go out there and really destroy the indies and come back to WWE. I think out of everybody on this list, I think that she's the one that I'm oh, she could be coming back as a huge star one day. I don't know. Your thoughts on some of the people, Ken?
Well, I think Motor City Machine Guns is probably the biggest lock to go to AEW. I mean, what else is there for them to do? I mean, they could go back to TNA, sure, but I think them going to AEW might be what that tag team division sorely needs, even though it has been on the upswing. But let's face it, Cope and Cage are getting near the ends of their careers. FTR, what else can they really do? And after them and the Bucks, it's what do you have there? What is the next feuds to go with? And I think Motor City Machine Guns would be perfect for there. Zoe Stark, I could see going on the indies, and really that would be the person I think would have a great breakout to really find her character, come back, because she has all the physical tools to get it done in the ring. She's phenomenal in there, very fluid in what she's doing. I think character work is the only thing really holding her back, and I think that she can build that up on the indies as well. Aleister Black and Zelina, I am not surprised because they really haven't done anything in WWE, and I do not see them going back to AEW because, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't reform the House of Black with Brody. Brody's a star on his own, and it just wouldn't make any sense there. So I think for them, indies would probably be the best bet. I mean, if they go to TNA, at least they can do some supernatural gimmicks there because, let's face it, they do amazing work in that kind of genre for storylines. But I mean, overall, and like I say, with as far as the why it goes, Joe Gacy's going to tear it up on the indies, and he'll be the next big thing on there, bar none, because he was crushing it before he got to WWE. I expect him to just take the ball and go even further with it. Your thoughts, Miss Sammy?
I guess it really just sum up everything that everyone said here. It's going to be interesting to see the Wyatt Six, just because I don't really see them. They're not going to stick together as a team. I think everyone's going to kind of go off and do their own thing. And that can be exciting because they've been doing the Wyatt Six thing for a while, and go back out and reinvent themselves. Or, in the case of a Joe Gacy, to go back to, what they used to do and did really well. Nothing wrong with any of that. And go out there and see what's available and reinvent yourself.
Can't wait to see the Chainsaw and Game Changer Wrestling.
Yeah.
Out there. Big real stuff. But with the sad news of releases, there's reasons, there's call-ups, and there's debuts. Well, let's start with the call-ups. Post WrestleMania, we've had some interesting. I mean, we talked about a couple of these last week, but the list is here now. We have Ethan Page, Sol Ruca, Joe Hendry, and Fatal Influence, JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Laney Reed, all respectively, so far called up to the main roster. What are your thoughts? I mean, some of these folks have now been on the main roster for 2 shows, or almost 2 shows, coming up on SmackDown for the Fatal Influence. What is your thoughts so far of the call-ups? Miss Sammy, we'll start with you.
Some of this was sorely needed, and from what we saw from WrestleMania, because there were some call-ups, earlier. They're getting pushes. They are going to get shown on TV. They are going to be in storylines that are front and center on SmackDown or Raw. Like, they're going to be in your face, and they need to be, because WWE's roster, as Rich and I and Ken as well have talked about over the past couple of years, a lot of the top talent is older. A lot of that top talent are doing other things. And that's a good thing. That's great overall, but you need people who are going to be there each and every week. And that's what this talent, younger talent, is there to do. And when you're the one that's there every week, you're going to be featured every week. So it's exciting to see. It's been exciting on Raw. It's been exciting on SmackDown. It's definitely breathed some new life into the thing. We talked about storylines, the same guys working with the same people over and over and over again, because that's kind of how it had been for a while. So this is a nice, needed change up. I'm hopeful it all works out for everyone involved, because for some people it doesn't, and some people it does.
Absolutely, Ken. I knew it. I love it.
What a moment. Ethan Page on the main roster. Super excited to see what he's going to do on there. Expecting big things there. In fact, I think he's walking away with the IC title as soon as he gets an opportunity for it. But the one that I was shocked, not because she debuted, but the entire faction came with her. And that was JC Jane and Fatal Influence. Mm-hmm. I was so happy for that crowd reaction, because that's what you want as a heel, let alone coming from NXT. She did her part and fed right into it. You could not ask for a better debut than what JC Jane and the crew got. And now, like I said, I was happy to see the whole faction there, because I thought they were breaking them up, but lo and behold, here we go. And I think that's what SmackDown really needs too. So very, very excited to see what they're going to do.
I'm with both of you on it. I thought that all of these were really good call-ups. I think that they're going to light the world on fire. I have nothing but big high hopes for every one of them, and they're in prime positions to do so. So, out of like some people's misfortune, you have great opportunity. Speaking of great opportunity, that means there was opportunity. And I know Sammy mentioned thinning out in NXT. However, this past week on NXT was probably one of the most exciting weeks ever, or actually in recent memory, at least in NXT, because we had some returns, some debuts and such. So here's just a small list. Honorable mention, because both of these people have been involved in NXT before. But Tavion Heights making his surprise return, going after Tony D. After we'll talk about the other person in a minute.
Yep.
And then of course Mr. Iguana. Well, me and Ken are always excited to see Mr. Iguana.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that means we're going to see him on NXT more. I think that they're kind of teasing that we're going to see a little more Mr. Iguana in the mix. But here's some people who kind of debuted, or we've seen them a little bit before, but still debuted. Tate Wilder, very impressive, by the way. I wasn't as familiar, but wow, talk about like making an impact instantly. Then of course Cam Hendricks.
Yes, from LFG.
Cam Hendricks, nice. On the main, on the NXT roster, beautiful. And then Tristan Angel, speaking in the same vein.
Yes.
How impressed were you with Tristan Angel?
Super excited once I saw him appear on screen. I'm like, this is where we need to go, and love seeing him getting that opportunity.
I loved it, and in a big way with Miles Bourne.
Yep.
Like talk about, let's put somebody out there and instantly put them somewhere.
Yes.
You can't get much better than that, especially one of that. And then, of course, we didn't just get men. We got Lizzie Rain. Lizzie Rain, amazing debut.
Oh, my God. That's how you do
amazing
star-making performance.
Wow. Obviously, Nikita Lyons has seen better days, and nothing against Nikita Lyons, but it's still a name that people know. Coming out and having that dominant of a performance and the crowd in your hands, phenomenal. I expect big things out of Lizzie Rain in the NXT Women's Division. Just throwing that one out there.
100%.
And then there's the two big ones. And this one was one that we were kind of like, I wouldn't say taken by surprise of, but it was heavily rumored that they might be coming to WWE, but not there. And that would be Will Cruz. So Will Cruz made his appearance. At the same time, as the whole schmaz would happen, which we'll talk about the big name in a minute. But I was pretty impressed that Will Cruz made his debut. We were on the fence where he's going to end up. He was in talks with both AEW and WWE. Either way, it's tremendous wrestler.
Oh yeah, it's so long rumored about where he was going to go that I honestly forgot. So when I saw him on screen, I marked out. I was like, oh my God, he's NXT. All right, let's go.
Right.
And what a debut too.
Right. and it kind of got mixed in there. And this can tell you how much of a presence he is. It didn't get overshadowed because the big reveal, the biggest of them all to save till last, is you have Tony D come to the ring. Last week, we saw Tony D get a present. Everybody's wondering what the present was. Well, when the lights went out again, and I instantly knew from the music, let's be honest, they did a great job with the music. And then the silhouette, Evil, it has arrived. Evil has arrived in NXT in a big way, and I love the impact. Instantly comes in. I mean, he bows to Tony D, gives him a gift, and just pisses off, if you will.
Yep.
And then you have Tavion Heights do the run-in, and then Will Cruz do a run-in. So, like, nobody got overshadowed here, though, which is crazy. Like, you would think that somebody would get overshadowed. The fact that the crowd, by the way, the NXT crowd, and I hate using this term, and you know this, but the NXT crowd is usually the smarter wrestling fan, if you will, and I'm talking about in wrestling terms. And so the fact that they knew who Evil wasn't a surprise, but the reaction was great.
Yes.
Like, you couldn't have paid for the reaction. Like, it was more of a payoff than I ever thought for Evil. And I felt great for him because I think that means that there's the office knows that people know who Evil is. And I said this before, if you're going to ever have a character, especially from Japan, that's going to get over, it's Evil. Because you don't have to have him say a lot.
Yeah.
He does all of his actions. His actions speak volumes. You don't need him to really cut promos. And I think that's going to help him in the long run of things. We'll start with you, Sammy. Out of all of those NXT debuts, what were your takeaways? What were you happy about? What were you disappointed with?
Well, I wasn't disappointed with anything, and here's why. Because obviously we've seen a lot of great talent in NXT get elevated to the main roster, and yes, it thinned out the roster. But we talk about NXT a lot in eras, and this is the dawn of a new era, and it's going to be very different than the last one just because of the new players involved. There's some really Evil. Perfect example, a really strong character, and now is going to get the opportunity to do that in NXT and WWE in a promotion that loves big characters. So obviously it's not going to be the same as in New Japan, but that's okay. Here's your opportunity to get some different minds pitching you ideas, you getting to pitch the ideas that you couldn't do before for whatever reason, and you're going to get to do it here. NXT, it's in WWE as a whole now, and NXT, it's got a lot of big characters, a lot of big personalities, and I thoroughly enjoy that. We have, if you look at the roster all the way top to bottom, you have guys who play the role super serious. Then you have people like Danhausen, who is just a meme character. You get down to NXT, you have an 80s rocker, you have Evil, you have a former mob boss there. Like, you just have these big characters, but it all kind of works. They always seem to be able to make a lot of it work. So it'll be exciting to see how they take this new kind of era of NXT and how they're going to make this all work. It's going to be very character heavy, and I think that's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Ken,
we had Evil. I mean, that's all I needed. But the fact that right now what Shawn Michaels and company are doing down there is they're combining both the best of Michaels' era of wrestling with what Triple H built with the Black and Gold brand and putting it together. We got, over the top characters, but we also have the best of the indies coming through. And what they're doing is finding a way to make it all work. I thought what Tony D'Angelo said on the way out the door of NXT was very reflective of the mood. Is Shawn Michaels came up to him and said something along the lines like, "You wanted the chaos, you got it." And he's like, "Yeah, I do. Let's go." And I think to bring all that in and just kind of was like almost like a metaphor of like, we're bringing in all this talent. We're going to make this work, and we're committed to putting on the best wrestling show possible. And I thought that was the perfect way to cap off this show because it had excitement. It had great in-ring work, and especially it's building up for a big transition period. And you're seeing that the key players are gone, but new players are ready to step up and take the spotlight for their own. And I love seeing it.
I agree with all of that. By the way, if you didn't know what the shirt, though, the Japanese character on the shirt, the Evil handed Tony D'Angelo said, it said war.
Okay.
So it is, it was a declaration of war of sorts, and it's fitting, and I like it with the chaos. So I'm all about it. And that wasn't the only news that the NXT had this past week. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. as we got a press release from WWE on April 28th, and and it was entitled, and I quote, "The CW network acquires exclusive broadcast rights to WWE NXT premium live events in a multi-year deal." So that means Peacock is done, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about that in a second. But the quote says the CW network and WWE, part of TKO Holdings Group, today announced all NXT premium live events will now air exclusively on the CW. Beginning with the Great American Bash later this summer, the CW will broadcast 20 PLEs in their entirety live on both coasts and over the next several years, including Stand and Deliver, Deadline, and Vengeance Day. With the addition of NXT PLEs to the CW's lineup, the network is now the exclusive home for all NXT programming, which showcases WWE's hottest up-and-coming superstars, also airing weekly live NXT installments every Tuesday night. WWE will continue to produce all PLEs. WWE NXT has energized our Tuesday nights by consistently delivering a loyal and passionate fan base to the CW every week, said Brad Schwartz, president of the CW network. Adding WWE NXT premium live events to our schedule is a natural fit, providing one broadcast destination for audiences to watch all their favorite superstars, storylines, and championship matches. Of course, the CW entered a 5-year deal with WWE in October of 2024 to bring NXT to broadcast television for the first time in the show's history. Its broadcast television debut delivered the largest audience for the program since October of 2023 and was the CW's #1 telecast of the year among adults 25 to 54 and 18 to 49. As the exclusive home of NXT, the CW airs 52 live weekly events throughout the season every Tuesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. So first and foremost, congratulations, CW. Congratulations to fans if you have broadcast television, because it means PLEs are on broadcast TV.
Yep.
However, for those of you who don't have streaming, it was also announced that the streaming versions of the show will be available on ESPN Direct. We all love that, don't we? But Miss Sammy, is this a big bucket of win for the CW and NXT?
It's a big bucket of win for both the CW and NXT. It's also a big bucket of win for US wrestling fans, if you still have cable, because now you have something all consolidated in one area, whereas you start getting up into Raw, SmackDown, and PLEs and Saturday night's main events. They're a little bit all over the place. So at least you know where to go get NXT. You don't have to go looking for it. It's in one spot if you have cable.
Absolutely. Kenem.
If you're establishing it as a brand, yeah, it's a big bucket of win. I think that for NXT to be really considered a third brand again, because let's face it, they had a lot of work to come out of that 2.0 era. I think this is making a huge statement about the commitment for a television deal, especially when we all are concerned about ratings, allegedly. That this is a moment to really say, hey, this brand is working and what they're doing down there is a hit.
I mean, I'm even more thankful because it's going to save me like $18 on paying for the Peacock.
Yeah.
So congratulations for Rich's pocket. I think it's a big bucket of win. It's more accessible to more fans worldwide. I do believe worldwide audiences will be able to watch NXT on Netflix, because I think that's part of the international deal. So I'm assuming the PLEs also are on Netflix. That's what I'm assuming. So I think it's a big bucket of win across the board. And obviously you're going to have more international watchers, especially now that we are adding some more international talent to NXT. So, I mean, that's a big smart thing. And I dig it. All joking aside, I want to talk about a couple things streaming wise anyways. The Peacock, the Peacock, one of the last things they got, Shawn Michaels documentary, which I did get the chance to finally check out. And it is no surprise and is not lost on me that Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Ethan Page are all stars in WWE after watching that documentary. They were heavily featured as Shawn Michaels' favorites.
Yes.
Which was really kind of cool to see Javon Evans and Trick Williams in particular have the moments that they had with Shawn Michaels. And it was really kind of cool. And it was also cool to see Ethan Page, who Shawn Michaels spoke gleefully of, and Ethan Page being very eager to sit under that learning tree as well. But I also thought that it was a cool documentary. They didn't waste too much. They gave us his life, but they didn't waste too much time on the stuff we already know. And, and didn't sugarcoat anything. I mean, Undertaker straight out said that he hated him.
Yeah.
And obviously now that's changed. And he's one of his closest friends, and he's glad that that's happened. But, and then Bret Hart.
Oh, man. Salty Bret Hart.
Yep.
Bret Hart was made an appearance. Did either of you get a chance to watch the doc yet?
A little bit, not enough to really comment on it.
Yeah, you got to make time and check it out, Ken. Sammy, did you get the chance to see it yet or no?
Listen, I always find an opportunity to watch Bret Hart have to talk crap about people. It's one of my favorite parts of the day.
But I gotta be honest with you. He was a little tame. He said a couple things, but he was still tame. It wasn't like the other documentary I'm going to bring up.
Was being tame.
It was a little tame because then you have the other documentary. I don't know if you've watched yet. Of course, Netflix dropped their Hulk Hogan documentary. And it's a long one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 5 episodes long.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've watched it. I might have to watch it again only because I was doing other things while watching most of it, but I caught the gist. And I'm going to be honest. I thought Netflix did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this. If you haven't seen her and the people at home, I'm going to give my take here. I think Netflix did a great job with such a polarizing and controversial figure. When Hulk Hogan died, we had a hard time on air kind of like saying, hey, eulogizing, if you will.
Yep.
Saying, hey, here's a guy who, if he didn't exist, wrestling as we know it doesn't exist, which is very fair to say. It's not hyperbolic at all. It's truth. However, we also have a human being that was very flawed. And you can't erase that. And you can't always do the love the artist, love the art, hate the artist. Sometimes you can't, the two don't mesh. And do I think that he did enough in his life there at the end to make amends for the things? Actually, no, I think he kind of hurt himself a little more. And I think where Netflix really shined is they showed all aspects. They didn't treat this like, oh, here's this person that we should put on a pedestal and love no matter what. And they also didn't go, hey, we should shit on this guy at all costs too. Mm-hmm. They did a great job of playing in the middle and taking that polarizing character and going, here's what he was great at. Here is the character that we loved. Here's the flawed human being. And here's all of his flaws to be seen. And some of those flaws, to be fair, in Hulk's own words, you got to kind of go, oh, okay. He admits that he was a shitty human being at times. He admits that he was a shitty husband. He admits that, he could have been a better father. Although he also, in a lot of ways, you can see that he still did care very muchly for his children. So you can't take it away from him. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think that maybe it's because of his untimely death and they were going to sit down with him again. We didn't really ever get that time where he made amends with certain things he should have made amends with. But I also thought they did a great job of all the co-stars, if you will. Cody Rhodes, really good on there. Like, not sugarcoating anything, being like, hey, I love the character of Hulk Hogan, but ooh boy, not so much. Booker T, kind of similar vibe. Hey, listen, I had some great times with Hulk, but yeah, flaws, right? And of course, Sammy, Bret the Hitman Hart. When I said he was tame in the Shawn Michaels thing, I was talking about his direct venom in the Hulk Hogan doc, where he did not mince words about how he felt about the Immortal One.
Well, you got to remember, WWE played a large part in the Shawn Michaels one, so that they know what to cut and when not to. The Netflix one, maybe they weren't as heavily involved.
I think they were, but I don't think that they minded him being as salty towards the Hulkster, if you will. Because like I said, I give credit because WWE you could tell had played a big role, and really where you could tell they played a role is the Vince portions. Yeah. Notably, you don't see Vince on screen at all until that last little segment at the end where he's eulogizing Hogan. And it's not an interview; it's actually from Hulk's funeral. Yeah. But any other time he talks, it's just like the voice with his name, and that's it. They don't show him, and I think the only reason they showed him during the eulogy was because it was actually, to be fair, a very good eulogy. I'm not taking that, I'm not defending the man. I'm just saying he did a great job of eulogizing the Hulkster. I think that spoke volumes about WWE and Netflix wanting to distance themselves. So for all those people who think that Vince is coming back, they do. They're very good about distancing themselves. Yeah. Including, like I said, not showing him but a small clip. And even then, they only had like 2 talking parts for him. Yeah, it wasn't that much. Compared to the fact that pretty much he's the guy, the two of them are together are kind of what took wrestling to the heights it was. So
Well, and the two of them had a very complicated relationship together as well.
You think?
Yeah.
I'll always go back. Some of the best promos, as we know, are work shoots, and one of the best is when Hogan, the build up to that match between Hogan and Red 19 between Hogan and Vince at Mania, and Vince literally goes, "When I was on the trial for my life, you tried to me," and it was true.
Mm-hmm.
Although, to be fair, Hogan was the good soldier and stepped up in front of them when they thought he was going to hand them Vince on a silver platter and went, "Nah, he never gave me nothing."
Yeah.
What are you talking about, brother? Although they did miss one opportunity. The greatest thing ever, if you've never seen the Gawker documentary, not on Hogan, but how Gawker fell at the Hogan trial, right? The greatest one thing ever is Hogan on the stand and going, well, Hulk Hogan might have a 10-inch dick, but Terry Bollea, not so much, brother.
The amount of just clippable things we've heard from celebrities in trials is fantastic. That's one of them. The stuff with Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, there's some great stuff there. It's fantastic stuff.
It is fantastic stuff. But I do believe if you were on the fence about seeing the Hogan documentary, check it out. It does not paint him as a saint at all. It doesn't completely vilify him either, but I think it's very fair.
Is there
it's
a
not
lot
quite,
of
the 50 Cent Diddy doc, but it's also,
Yeah, I mean, it's a brutally honest picture of a broken, flawed human being.
He was a hero to most of us when we were children, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Does it have enough Eazy-E in it?
There was quite a bit of Eazy-E. I know you're a big Eazy-E fan. There was quite a bit of Eazy-E. He spoke very candidly.
Mm-hmm.
I give him credit. I always like hearing him talk because he's very fair. They had a good guess. They had a good roster guess.
Yeah, I mean, they loaded up for it. I mean,
although Hogan should have got Shawn Michaels was epic too in the documentary. Only because the whole Then he went out there and oversold like an asshole. Yeah, and I bet you Shawn Michaels has 0 ounce of regret for it to this day. If you ask him, I bet you 0 ounces of regret.
Yeah, just
throwing it out there, Terry. May you rest wherever you are, because we don't know. I'm not willing to bet on where the Hulkster is, brother. Yeah. Just throwing it out there. All right, let's end the show on a positive note. I know you want to talk about this because you brought it up earlier, Sammy. So I'm going to give you center stage here. AEW, big week, huh? What were your takeaways? What are your thoughts on the AEW product this week? That really kind of drove it home for you.
Yeah, it was good Dynamite this week. I thought the storyline continuing on with Darby and MJF really evolving. MJF taking another loss and, shady tactics and stuff. But at the end of the day, Brody King, great match to finish the night. It's just another strong Dynamite. And they just keep, they stumble along the way. AEW has its, flaws that some of them they don't look at as flaws. We hear, we do, but they don't. And that's fine. Different, flavors of ice cream for everyone. But at the end of the day, they're having a really, really strong 2026, and Dynamite was a good example of that.
Different strokes for different folks, if you will. Yeah. Before I turn it over to you, Ken, I want to give a spotlight. I do like what they're doing with MJF and Darby. It has actually kind of gotten me now. I'm digging it. I don't know if this is out of this was always the plan or if this was just out of happenstance. But either way, good kudos to them. It's very intriguing. It's creating some business for me. But I want to give the shout out, man. One of my favorite segments was the vignette with the Death Riders and Will Ospreay.
That's where I was going.
Go ahead, take center stage.
No, I was surprised we had Will Ospreay go in a Fight Club, but that's exactly what was going on. I liked how Moxley kind of broke down what the Death Riders are all about. And, Will saying, hey, I'm not cleared, but I'm still going anyway. And, Moxley's response to it, I thought was very interesting. The interaction with Pac, that was funny.
Yeah. Oh, hilarious.
I was not expecting that, but I think they're just trying to really push Will Ospreay's chase for the title that much more, that when we get to All In, it's going to really feel like that magical moment we've all been waiting for.
I'm with you. I think what was missing, you could say, I'm paraphrasing. I think with the story they're telling is what was missing is the toughness. And I think now you're getting John Moxley's like, hey, listen, I understand that you're going to be the next guy, but I'm going to help you hit that next level. And that next level is being the toughness and being up here as mentally tough as you are physically ballsy. And I think that's the whole story we're getting. It's kind of like that, the best way is Rocky.
Yep.
Rocky 3,
Yep.
when to beat Mr. T, Rocky has to go join Apollo and his team and get down and actually, go out and get a little gritty. And I think that's what we're getting with Will Ospreay. I love the story. I think that they're telling it very well. It was surprising to me because at first I was like, what is this? And then and I was taken aback. The Pac, the Pac moment was hilarious because you don't expect that from him anymore.
No, not at all.
So I dug it. I agree. We got a big pay-per-view coming up at the end of this month. Double or Nothing from Queens, New York, big show, big city, and it's having a big feel already. I feel like we're going in a good direction right now.
Yeah, especially with the stipulation they put on for Cope and Cage and FTR. Like, it's really feeling like that. I don't want to say WrestleMania-esque show, but like their biggest show of the year, but it's not. It's definitely proven to be the true complement to All In.
Yeah, and you know what the other part of that is that in AEW, we know that because the stipulation is there doesn't mean that the person's not going to lose.
Yeah.
Because they have pulled the trigger many a times on the stipulation. Like in WWE, when you start hearing stuff, you're like, the Pat McAfee one was the only one they broke, but that's for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
The crowd was not coming back for that. But they didn't break the Roman Reigns one. Oh boy, I'm not talking about the bloodline. So like, I don't have that energy in me for that creative bankruptcy that's going on right now on that roster. I just want to throw that one out there for you fine folks. But Sammy, you want to button anything you want to button up for this week of wrestling that we might not have touched upon?
What did we not touch on?
You know
what?
You in the hot seat.
Yeah, it is the hot seat. But
Ken, you can jump in if you have something that I didn't touch on that you want to throw out there. Just go in the end chat. So if you want us to talk about something, throw it out there. I just want to give a minute because I know that we're early on this one.
Hey, we're right on time. So this is, I guess, like for overall, every show is firing on all cylinders, and I think that it's a great sign to see that WWE is doing a refresh where they sorely need it. Not saying it's made everything perfect, but at least there's inspiring some hope. AEW, like Sammy has been saying for quite some time, has been having a phenomenal 2026, even without AJ Styles. And to see them have this momentum going into their second biggest show of the year, it's a very strong sign that I think if you're a diehard sicko or a casual fan, there's something very appealing about the show that is really making it can't miss. And that is something that I think is a testament to what Tony Khan and the team have been doing over there. So credit is where credit is due. And what a time to be a fan.
What a time to be alive on a Thursday night.
Yep.
From the ODPH dungeon.
Support your local indies. Go support your
there you
local
go.
Yep.
I was gonna shadow that because I was gonna say great week of pro wrestling, and it could be a great weekend of pro wrestling. A lot of cool independent action going on. Check it out. YouTube Triller TV Plus has got your hookup. Your local. Yep. If somebody's local, if you have local feds, go visit them. Go check it out because the wrestling doesn't have to stop just because the week is at the end, and of course the SmackDown is still to come.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, though, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. But before we go, one more time, I want to let you know we're powered by FanlightZone.com. If you want to go check out the very best in comic book reviews, make sure you head over to FanlightZone.com. And also, we got articles coming up for pro wrestling and everything else. So you're going to want to check over that, the website. Make sure you're following us on all the social medias because we got videos posted and everything else going on all week long. And, of course, make sure you smash that subscribe button, click that bell icon for notifications, and hit that thumbs up on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. If you were not watching us on YouTube, get over to YouTube and check it out. We got some huge interviews that are there already. Speaking of which, Zach Kaplan interview, Matthew Rosenberg, shout outs to our friend Alan Dunford.
Yep.
There's so many great interviews with so many great comic creators. We got a show dropping tomorrow, which is a free comic book day preview show for myself and Ken for an FLZ Presents. And we do have interviews lined up. Trust me, folks, you're gonna want to tune in. You're gonna want to check all this stuff out on Fanlight Zone's YouTube channel. And of course, most importantly, obviously you're tuning into this.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear more pro wrestling talk? It's simple. Every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the FLZ YouTube channel, Twitch, and X. That's where we go live. We are live talking all things pro wrestling. Always want to hear from you in the chat. If you're watching on replay, make sure you drop some comments. But I am going to bid everybody adieu because for myself, for Miss Sammy, for Ken M, we're going to take off until next week when we see you at the same time same bat channel. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And most importantly, later wrestling fans. Woo!